Okay, so our next session is on innovating education. And we're going to look at what innovation there has been in the sector and also how technology can create educational inclusion as well as equipping the next generation for the skills that they need. And I think we know that many of today's jobs will be automated in the future and that many more jobs that exist right now won't exist. So how will the education sector keep up with the pace of change? So to chair this next discussion, please welcome Dr. Imran Zawwar, a business strategist who heads the Middle East portfolio at the Cranfield School of Management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I've been left with a challenge, an innovative challenge, I would say, because we are just right before the lunchtime, and I have two speakers that have a hard stop at 13:30. So I would say we would not take questions as part of this panel, but you can connect with our speakers through email after the session, and the speakers who are here, you can connect with them during the lunchtime. I'm very mindful that Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, you have been sitting here for the first panel, and straight we are into the second panel. If you don't mind, with your permission, I would like to do a bit of a stretching activity with you all. Are you all okay with it? Okay. So you just have to follow me, remain seated, but follow my actions. I need you to follow as I'm doing. Can you please all stretch your arms like this? May I request everyone to join us here? Stretch your arms. Turn your arms like this. Clap your arms for me. Thank you. Your right arm up. Right arm. Make sure it's the right arm, please. Cross your arms like this. Can you clap your fingers? Now, I need to see your thumb. Can you show me your thumb? And if I haven't deceived you, can you do like this? Well, innovation is pretty much like this, what I've done with you here. You're left confused what has happened, and that has happened so many times in so many contexts where I have seen innovation happening. If you literally look at the word innovate, it has two parts. It has Greek roots, and it's composed of two parts. In, which means into, and novari, which means make new. So into, make new is the literal meaning of the word innovate. But this is not very helpful because there's a very similar word, invent, that is often confused with innovation. And the moment you're thinking about innovation, you all of a sudden start thinking about inventing something. Innovation is very easy. The Merriam-Webster dictionary gives the definition of this word innovation as introduction of something new that has impact. But then we ask ourselves this question, how new is this new? Is it new to the world, new to the organization, new to the department? How new is this new? And research confirms that innovation can be new to the organization, new to the country, new to the department, but not new to the world. Innovation is already existing in the system. It is repackaging of elements, services, and products. I'll remind you of the smartphone. When first Apple introduced their smartphone, all the components that go in your smartphone were already available. So it's just the recombination of different elements that create innovation. Now, when we talk about innovation in the educational context, all of a sudden, people go very heavy on digital. Technology comes at the foreplay, and there's nothing wrong with it. As a researcher, I study technology and digital, especially digital strategies with organizations. But ladies and gentlemen, digital is out there to augment human capacity. It's not out there to remove the human influence. And that is where I have seen organizations going wrong. So I have coined a terminology in my research, and we call it that it is not about digital when you're trying to innovate. It's about phygital. That is combination of physical and digital capabilities that allows us to innovate. Most successful organizations that I have studied as part of my research have gone down this phygital route as they have continued to innovate. I'm very mindful of the limited time, and I'm very mindful that our first speaker, Dean Francois, has a hard stop at 13:30. Dean Francois is the 9th Dean of London Business School, a position he has held since August 2017. As Chief Executive Officer of the school, he's implementing a plan to fulfill a vision of LBS as an engaged community, walking the learning journey together. He would be sharing with us how pandemic has reinforced the role of education in facilitating learning and delivering content, but also delivering context. LBS had some major success with their corporate partners in the Middle East, in particular with learning connected to action plans that are clearly of importance to the client organizations and fits with the country's vision, in this case, Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia. I'm very much looking forward to this session with Dean Francois. Sir, over to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Imran. Imran was excellent. He already told you everything I wanted to say. He talked about digital as being not just important in of itself, but as a complement to enhance human capability. Maybe that's what we have learned the most during the pandemic. So let me get into the details. First of all, a little bit about London Business School and what is our connection to the Arab world. It starts from the fact that we have a campus in Dubai, and we have been there for 15 years now, delivering an executive MBA program. That puts us in a position to now have more than 2,500 alumni in the Middle East. And I must admit that our connection to the Arab world is primarily to the Middle East. Besides this program out of Dubai, we also run quite a bit of executive education in partnership with private organizations and government agencies, primarily in the UAE, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and in Kuwait, with also some activities in other countries, for example, Arab Bank in Jordan. Our mode of delivery has traditionally been that we send faculty on site, Dammam from Saudi Aramco, Abu Dhabi for ADQ, or they send their participants to our campus in Dubai or to our campus in London. Obviously, when the pandemic hit and Heathrow shut down, air travel shut down, we had to innovate really fast. And so we did. And so what did we learn? The first thing we learned is we can do great things online. Absolutely. Probably better than we expected. Maybe we thought, because of the success of outfits like Coursera, that online was just for mass engagements with hundreds of thousands of students at once. The pandemic taught us that online can be outstanding for 5 or 10 students as well. Second thing we learned is that it does matter what is the context to the learners. For example, if you have some students in a classroom on a campus here or in Dubai, and others at home all over the region, that does not work. No one likes that. The students hate it, the faculty hate it. Because what's missing there is something that the pandemic and this wave of innovation reminded us, is that as an educational institution, we do a lot more than curating and delivering content and connections. We set a context within which the learning takes place. And something that we have learned from our partnership in the Middle East in particular is there's nothing more powerful as a context than the leadership or the top executives of an organization setting out specific challenges for the participants to our programs. Challenges that are going to have a material impact on the organization. In one of the latest programs we ran for a major private player in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A particular group of students came up with an innovation that is planned or forecasted to save the organization $28 million. Imagine what this means to the students who came up with this idea and got a chance as part of our program to present this to the leadership of their organization. Context matter. In the context of a corporate partnership, we have an opportunity and we now have a track record of setting up outstanding programs, projects for our participants in partnerships with leadership. We learn a little bit more from our presence in the Middle East. We also learn that the country's context makes a difference. And in particular, when an organization sets a project, learning outcomes, that don't just help them, but also aligns to the broader vision of the country, like the Vision 2030 that we have in the UAE or the Vision 2030 that we have in the Kingdom. That also makes a difference. It adds motivation to the learning experience that we deliver. And maybe this is something that we can learn from. Those of you here who are from the UK government, the power to a clear vision for us as a country. The last thing we've learned it from the innovation that got us through the pandemic into where we are today, but we've learned it over time from the participants and the students who are applying and joining our programs, not only in Dubai, but also in London, from the whole Arab world. We've learned that there is something really special going on in the region with the unleashing of youth talent, with the enthusiasm, the energy, but also the competence and maybe the competition among all these young people who are trying to learn as much as they can, as fast as they can from organizations like London Business School, so that they can do something for themselves, for their organizations, for their community, and for their country. And that's why, as a school, we are so proud to have such activity with our campus in Dubai, with our corporate partnerships, our government partnership, because we feel this is such a nice invitation for us to contribute to those Vision 2030s and to the unleashing of all the potential of the youth in your region. So thank you for inviting me here, and I hope that together we'll continue to innovate in finding ways to create not just content, but context for these youth to thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dean Francois. Dean Francois discussed two things. Dean Francois talked about the online learning, and we are witness that online learning absolutely works. One of the questions that we asked, particularly the team I was leading, when we were thrown to a very similar context that Dean Francois mentioned with respect to one of our clients in the Middle East, they asked us to deliver a whole program online, 8 hours a day, back-to-back 5 days. And we were left thinking, how do we do that? It's so difficult. But then we ask ourselves the question that if people can binge watch Netflix for hours and hours and play the PlayStation for unlimited amount of time, then there is something wrong the way we deliver education online. It's not the problem with the platform. And that connects me very nicely to the second point that Dean Francois mentioned about context. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to innovating education, content is like pebbles in the water. The main focus has to be context. Only then you can create an amazing program which has magical moments in it. We are very honored that we have the Right Honorable Charles Clarke in our company today. The Right Honorable Charles Clarke is a former UK Secretary for Education and Skills and former UK Home Secretary. He now holds visiting professorships at Lancaster University and King's College London and is a consultant on international education reform for the Cambridge Partnership for Education, part of the University of Cambridge. We all know that the Right Honourable Charles Clarke has been an influential voice in education systems of the UK, and he has been at the heart of designing education systems which are better fit for the students. I'm very much looking forward to hearing him. So over to you. The Right Honourable Charles Clarke also has a hard stop, so he would leave after this speech. So, thank you.
Imran, thank you very, very much. And I do have to apologize that I have to leave after I finished. I have another commitment which I have to get to. It's an honor to be asked to participate here. As you say, I am a consultant for the Cambridge Partnership for Education, which does a lot of work in the Middle East region and is keen to extend what it's doing. It is part of the University of Cambridge and uses the most advanced research techniques to understand how to improve education for individuals. I'm also honoured to be a trustee of the British University in Egypt, and so I was absolutely delighted when Professor Loutfi and and the Arab Chamber of Commerce signed the agreement earlier today. Imran, I'm going to take as my watchword the word you used in your introductory remark. You talked quite rightly about the introduction of innovation. And the point about innovation is it's not a technical thing in a test tube, in a lab, or whatever. It's how do you make it real? And I think there are three things that I want to emphasize. First, and most important, is the role of leadership played by a head teacher, the leadership team of a school. It doesn't matter what's available if the school isn't interested in using it. I know of a case of a country in the Middle East which bought a large number of laptop computers some years ago, and they literally just stayed in cupboards and were never used because the leadership of the school was not convinced that it was a worthwhile thing to do. Or if they were convinced, they didn't know how to use them. So my first point is the critical importance of school leadership, the whole leadership team, but in particular, the head teacher, to make it happen, to introduce, again to use your word, the process of change. The second important point for schools is to collaborate with other schools in the locality. All the schools in a given locality are facing similar problems of what to do about innovation, how to take things forward. We certainly found in the UK that if you could get a dialogue between a school here and other schools nearby, where the teachers were talking to each other, the parents were talking to each other, the students were talking to each other around the benefits of innovation, then it was far easier to build the atmosphere and climate to make that happen. So my second point is strong collaboration between schools and the other agencies with which schools have to work. And then the third point, which I think is exceptionally important, is the quality of the teaching and learning materials, the innovatory materials that you need. And to go with that is training teachers in particular to be able to use those teaching and learning materials. As you correctly said, Imran, it might be digital, but it might not. It might be other things that operate in different ways. But what you need is high quality teaching and learning materials at the innovative edge of what is happening, with teachers who are trained to be able to use that and make it happen. Again, it's a problem from when I was in government. We had a problem of a big program of new equipment, but we didn't put enough money into training the teachers to use it. And so it wasn't fully used in some respects. We sorted that problem out, I'm glad to say, but it's critical. And that applies also to trying to get good continuous professional development for teachers. So I conclude by re-emphasizing these 3 points. The importance of the leadership of the school, and in particular the head, and their commitment to innovate. Secondly, the importance of collaborating between schools and other schools in the locality, so there is a climate that celebrates the potential benefits of innovation. And thirdly, having the actual learning and teaching materials and the training for teachers to enable those 3 things to happen. That's the difference, again going back to your initial remark, between having the innovatory material and actually making the innovations happen to improve the quality of education for children and young people. So that's all I wanted to say this morning. I apologize again for my rapid departure, but I'm delighted this event is taking place, and I think it's exactly the kind of thing that's necessary. And if I can help in any way with any of you who are looking to that in the future, please, by all means, get in touch. Thank you very much indeed.
The Right Honorable Charles Clarke, sir, thank you very much for your insightful comments and speech. The Right Honorable friend mentioned three things: leadership, collaboration, and the quality of materials. And let me add one thing to that. When you have these three ingredients, you know what would happen? Innovation would rarely happen unless and until there's diversity and conflict. So you need to have the ball bearings between these three elements for this to really function and come together like this. Leadership, collaboration, and quality of the teaching materials are absolutely critical. Without that, there is no way forward. Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Charles Clarke. I would now like to invite Haifa Al-Kaylani. She's the president and founder of the Arab International Women's Forum, which is set up in London in 2001 as a non-profit development organization committed to empowering and developing women's participation in the economy through education, entrepreneurship, and engagement in political and business leadership. Haifa Al-Kaylani is a development economist who was the only Arab commissioner to serve on the ILO Global Commission on the Future of Work from 2017 to 2019, supporting the ILO in its creation of the landmark report on the future of work, Work for a Brighter Future, published in January 2019. She's a fellow of Harvard Advanced Leadership Initiative and will be speaking today about the growing links between innovation, education, and job creation, which, as we are all aware, is much needed in the region. She will be talking about the urgent need to build the bridge between industry and academia and reform curricula to reflect new soft human skills that the future workforce will need to have in order to compete and succeed in the future world of work. Over to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Anwar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure, both personally and as president and founder of the Arab International Women's Forum, to join you today at the Arab Bridge Economic Summit, organized by our long-standing and most valuable institutional partner, the Arab Bridge Chamber of Commerce. I'm also honored to share that I serve on the board of the Arab Bridge Chamber of Commerce. Distinguished guests, education and the economic empowerment of women and young people is a critical topic with strategic significance for all of us here today, as well as for the Arab region as a whole. It's a topic upon which myself and the Arab International Women's Forum have been very much focused in all our regional and global advocacy work for over 2 decades now. Our mission is dedicated to empowering the talented, vibrant MENA workforce of men and women and ensuring a sustainable future for the region of economic prosperity and growth with the focus on job creation for our youth and with emphasis on the role of women as engines of economic growth in the region. Innovating education and the future of work and skills is a highly relevant and timely conversation for us all to be having today because of their huge significance as key issues impacting government policy, the private sector, higher education institutions, and civil society. Globally, we are witnessing a mass redundancy of jobs that are fast becoming obsolete because of the rise of automation at work. In every region of the world, there is insufficient provision to prepare both university graduates and adult learners of what is said to be the greatest upheaval in the workplace since the Industrial Revolution. There is an urgent need for economies to skill, upskill, and reskill their workers to adequately prepare them for the workforce of the future and to equip workers to succeed in the careers where the jobs of the future are being created, and largely, obviously, in the digital economy. The MENA region has fully embraced education technology and understands the need to diversify towards sustainable, people-centered, knowledge-based, and highly digitized economies. We are in the home stretch of journey to 2030, and MENA countries are revitalizing their efforts post-pandemic to achieve the vital goals on gender equality as well as on education. According to a recent report by Deloitte, the MENA's digital economy could reach $400 billion by 2030. Structural changes will happen with EdTech and health tech tipped to be the top performers. As we come out of the disruption of COVID-19, the Arab world is creating and capitalizing on new opportunities to ensure the sustainability and productivity of the future Arab workforce, and to meet the needs of the 27 million young workers entering the MENA labor market. As the World Bank noted in May 22 report published this year titled Jobs Undone, and I quote, female labor force participation in the region of 20% is still the lowest in the world, along with the high youth unemployment rate estimated at 26%. So ensuring a sustainable future for the MENA region workforce through education, EdTech, training, and economic inclusion requires serious political will and the efforts of all sectors represented today to implement a cohesive, region-specific approach that addresses inequality and empowers women and young people to contribute effectively to their communities and their economies at large. The issues being discussed today are at the heart of the human-centered agenda that the ILO Global Commission on the Future of Work, on which I was very proud to serve, calls for. It calls for the key priorities are to align economic policy with the future of work solutions. They center on lifelong learning, continuous education, skilling, adaptability, and flexibility in order to guarantee an inclusive, multi-generational, just, and equitable future labor market. To achieve this, it is vital to have strong partnerships between universities and industry, private sector. Apart from fostering graduates' career readiness, it is important for universities to listen to what employers need. Close ties between both industry and universities will lead to attractive outcomes across several key areas, including graduate employment, up-to-date curricula, and research innovation. Despite all these benefits, institutions all over the world, and especially in our region, continue to face challenges when it comes to industry, academia, collaboration. We all have the opportunity now to pause and reflect on the multifaceted changes that are around the corner and contribute to the development of viable vision for the future working world by linking government, industry, and education to power more public-private partnerships, deepen innovative solutions, and engage all stakeholders. According to a recently published report by the Center for Strategic Philanthropy at Cambridge University Judge Business School on giving in the GCC, funding by private sector GCC philanthropists tops $210 billion US, with education being their #1 area of focus, followed by health, in order to enable the people in the region to achieve their full potential. To conclude, the longer-term economic landscape facing the post-secondary education will become clearer as the genuine impact of the pandemic is understood. However, the implementation of several digital transformation strategies in education have already started reshaping the post-secondary education landscape. The transformation is driven primarily by significant shifts to online, blended, and hybrid learning by implementing omni-channel approaches, increased borderless higher education competition, introduction of micro-credentials, and changes to work and the global imperative, as I repeat, for upskilling and retaining and expanding university corporate partnership models. It is time to consider a new dimension towards sustainable growth that allows placing the Arab region as the hub of excellence and education, and attract regional and international scholars and students, as well as being the true driver for change in our region. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Dear Haifa, thank you very much for enlightening us with your thoughts and some very latest research findings and data. I remember a few years back at the inauguration of the World Economic Forum, Justin Trudeau is famously quoted to have said that diversity is the engine of economic growth. And you very rightly touched upon at the very start of your speech about diversity. And then you very nicely connected with the fact that we need to have a collaboration between industry and academia and government entities. Achieving strategic alignment on that end is extremely important. And to do that, I say, we need a new breed of academics with practitioner experience. And the terminology we have coined for that is pracademics. We don't need academics, but pracademics. That is practitioner turned academics to achieve what you have said. Now, we are very honored that we have with us Professor Mohamed Loutfi. Professor Mohamed Loutfi is currently the President and Vice Chancellor of the British University in Egypt. Prior to this, he has held the post of Vice Chancellor's Special Envoy at Coventry University. Throughout his career, he held a number of leadership roles as the Pro-Vice Chancellor of Cardiff Metropolitan University and the University of Sunderland in UK. Professor Loutfi holds a bachelor's in economics and political science, and a master's of science in information technology, and a PhD in systems thinking. And his research involves modeling and simulation of social systems, nonlinear dynamic feedback systems. A professor of internationalization from Cardiff Metropolitan University, a visiting professor of Coventry University, and a visiting professor of innovation and globalization at Eurasia University in China. He has 30 years of experience in higher education and extensive experience in universities, leadership, and management. So over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I think it's a bit difficult to be the last one to speak before lunch. So I'm the only thing between you and lunch now. Make it short. I'll make it short, I'll make it interesting. صح كده? Okay. And I'll focus on, like the session has 3 topics, but I'll focus on one important topic for me, which is equipping future generation with the marketable skills that the future economy needs. But the best thing to do is to start by definitions. And if we've heard our colleagues before me, like EdTech could be answered very quickly with Coursera, widening access would be covered by colleges and professional schools. But the important thing is universities, and how can we equip our students to be fit for the global market needs. So universities exist to serve the societies that they live in. They're expected to be the think tank of the society, providers of knowledge, and in many countries, this link is very explicit, defined as the social contract between the university and the society. Universities need to be responsive and responsible. So they're responsible for the society and responsive to the society. And by responsible for the society, I mean it's the pushing the boundaries of science, the researching into the unknown, which is the meaning and the new. Universities have to be responsible. They have to be made accountable for their choices and possible errors. We expect from universities to invent AstraZeneca. This is what we expect from them. So pushing the boundaries of science. The other side is universities need to be responsive to the societal needs, to be accountable for their failures, because these priorities are set by the society. And one of the priorities set by the society now is they want students or graduates focusing on skills that are fit for employment. So in the expectations for them to be responsive, this should be part of their social contract. On that front, education is no longer about passing information or experience, and it's no longer pedagogies or theories. Learning is moving, living, a breathing organism, and we need to engage our students in day-to-day learning, in learning by working, learning by doing. Innovation is much the same. It's usually a response to problems or to opportunities, and it encourages people and students to take a creative look. And the word creative you came up with a new definition for it now, to take creativity and look at things in a different way. Actually, in my view, innovation is a function of creativity, and creativity is a function of the culture of dissent, to argue, to assimilate, to push the boundaries of science. And for such cultures to flourish in an institution, we need proper governance in higher education institution, coupled with university autonomy and academic freedom. But let us go back to the university being responsive to the societal needs, the social contract between the university and the society, to align it with marketable skills for the future economic needs. In other words, what is expected from universities now is skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. Skills is a very dynamic change. It's very dynamic, and it's changing in the job market that no longer ties to disciplinary education. Skills are like building muscles. It's about equipping them and enabling learners to be lifelong learning. And lifelong learners is the most important thing that we'll be focusing on starting now, pursuing knowledge as far as their journey takes them. So developing lifelong learners is a concept that I believe in personally, and as a key message, and I try to instill this in the institution that I'm currently leading in Egypt. This takes us to the challenge between the fitness for the purpose and the fitness for the purpose. So fitness of the purpose of aligning universities with the societal needs, lifelong learning, skilling, reskilling, and upskilling, we are all in agreement of. But fitness for the purpose is the fitness of the higher education institutions to be able to deliver this, of the systems and of the higher education institutions. So, for example, a message that is coming across, updating curricula is no longer, updating the curricula. It's no longer a simple thing to say updating the curricula. The business world accused higher education institutions of not being responsive enough to their needs. But updating the curricula is a larger cycle. It's a larger cycle that involves governments, involves bodies. It's not as simple as that. So universities are falling behind in meeting this. At the British University in Egypt, we started to look at this in a different way. As part of our strategic transformation program, we launched a new strategy which has a clear purpose, clear priorities to make us move all the university in the same direction. So the clear purpose of the university is developing lifelong learners, rounded citizens, rounded graduates, fit for employment in the global marketplace. And it's about focusing on making students to be able to think critically, and these are the cognitive skills that are needed. Analyze problems of the society, look for solutions of the problems of the society, accept them, and accept social responsibility. So to have a clear set of priorities and focusing on the cognitive skills at the same time, but learning by doing. On a macro level in our strategy, and it's funny that our session now comes straight after the session of COP26, and COP27 is happening in Egypt. So on a macro level in our strategy, we're focusing on sustainable development goals. Everything we do in the university is aligned with the sustainable development goals. So we're working with the UNDP now. We set up the first simulator, COP27 simulator, that is all over the news. You just need to Google it, which giving the students of the future the chance to be able to deliver their message in COP27. Involving them in solutions for pressing issues like climate awareness. But on a meso level, we started to focus or to align our university with what's happening in our country, Egypt. So aligning what's happening in the university with the Vision 2030 of Egypt, which involves several projects, like for example, Decent Life, Haya Karima. All our students are involved in these activities, learning by doing. So that's how we're meeting the societal needs by aligning our students with what is happening in the society. I would like to pause here and elaborate. Our students visited areas in support convoys, and this is where innovation in education has come. So they're learning by doing. They have seen real life issues, real people in the real world. This is not a lesson that you can read in a book. You have seen the problems firsthand, have confronted them, and have worked to find viable solutions that can be executed in the real world. Finally, on a micro level in the institution, we are saying that we are a student-centered university. So everything we do is about the students. Research is student-centered. Teaching is student-centered. Working with the society is student-centered. So on a micro level, it's about focusing on the students, their growth, their learning through the activities that is happening in the university. Our student-centered strategy focuses on skills whilst promoting innovation and entrepreneurship culture and awareness, among other things, with graduates. Skills like, as I said, the cognitive skills, creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, and this cannot all happen without having this interaction, trying or learning by doing. So linking learning with real life, learning by doing, learning in a culture of dissent, and that is very important. Learning in a real life setting, learning to be a lifelong learner, because we can't teach them really what would happen in the future. The job market is moving very fast, as my colleague here said. It's moving very fast, and we are unable to cope with the changes. So in conclusion, there is a difference between fitness of the purpose that we're all talking about. We want students ready for the world of work, and fitness of the purpose are the institutions and the systems ready to deliver this. The purpose in innovating education to align students with the societal needs. The challenge is how can we align our systems and our institutions to be fit for purpose, and we need to be putting students at the forefront and center in everything we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mohamed Loutfi. I really liked when you said universities exist to serve the societies, and universities need to be responsive and responsible. You mentioned learning by doing. That's a concept from Joseph Schumpeter, and Joseph Schumpeter is known as father of innovation. Thank you very much for your insightful comments. Unfortunately, we are not taking questions right now. You can connect with our respected speakers during the lunchtime. I would like to hand over back to our very nice host. Over to you, please. Thank you.